So let's look at a quick rates example that was given at the end of the last lecture. So the question goes as such. A softener is designed to have a maximum flow rate of 200 liters per minute. How many liters will pass in 12 hours? So this is a well-structured question to really grasp at the idea of ratios and rates. So there's multiple ways about doing this. We'll see the first way of doing it. So first we'll list what we're given. So we're given that there's a flow rate of 200 liters for every 1 minute. And that's the same as, writing 200 liters per minute. And we're given the total time is 12 hours. So the easiest thing right here to do would be convert our total time, which is in hours, to minutes, because our rate over here is given in minutes. You could convert the rate into liters per hour and then keep the 12 the same, but in this case it would be a lot easier just to keep the rate as liters per minute and convert the total time from hours to minutes. So we'll multiply 12 hours times 60 minutes per hour. And I like to keep the units all times, even if we already know that there's 60 minutes an hour. At least this way you'll know what kind of units you're ending up with. So hours cancels off and we're left with 12 times 60, 720 minutes. Okay. So the easiest way of doing this, or maybe for some people the quickest way of seeing this, is we're given in units of rate as liters per minute, and we have a total time of minutes, and all we want is liters. So basically we'll have liters per minute, and all we want is liters. So here's what we're going to do. Liters per minute multiplied by the total minutes. So I'm not including numbers here, I'm just doing the equation with just the units, and this is referred to as dimensional analysis, where you're doing the equation itself. So what you're going to be multiplying, so it'll be the rate times the total time, but just to see if you have the units right. So minutes cancels out and you're left with liters, and this is what we want. So that's how we know that this step is correct. So we have 200 liters per minute, that's how much is flowing, and we have a total of, for every 1 minute, total of 720 minutes. So minutes cancels out. Now all that's left to do is the calculation itself. So 200 times 720, 144,000. Oops, that's the final answer right there. Now, the second way of doing this is kind of logically using if and then logic statements. So this is kind of a technique you can use when it comes to rate questions like this, and it works pretty much all the time. But if you're a lot faster at seeing where this leads, then you can stick with that. If you need something written out, word form, then you can just use the second one. So we'll start with if and then statements, and that will set up our equations right here. So 200 liters for every 1 minute. Then, and this is what we're trying to find, X amount of liters. This is our unknown. This is how many liters have passed in 12 hours for every 720 minutes. So this is what we're given. If 200 liters pass through for every 1 minute, then how many liters have passed in that 720 minutes? And these are our fractions set up already. So if it's easier for you to write it as a logical statement, then by all means, and then you have your fractions ready. Liters, liters, minutes, minutes. So 200 liters per x liters equal to 1 minute, 720 minutes. Now we can just cross multiply. So what does that give us? X liters times 1 minute is equal to 200 liters times 720 minutes. So you divide both sides by, you wouldn't do, if you weren't including units, you wouldn't even consider this 1, because anything times 1 is just 1. But if you just wanted to get rid of the units, we divide both sides by 1 minute to get the x liters by itself. Divide by 1 minute. And now you're just left with x, because minutes and minutes would cancel out, and it would just leave you with liters. So now you can drop the units. X is equal to 200 times 720, which is the same thing we did up there, which is equal to 144,000 liters. Now you could have done all this by keeping the total time as 12 hours, but converting the rate itself. Converting the rate to liters per hour. And to do that, you just multiply, you multiply this by, there's 60 minutes per hour. And the reason we do that is because we want to be left with the units, liters per hour. Okay? So that means we would have to get rid of minutes at the bottom. We multiply that by minutes at the top for whatever hour, because we need hour in the bottom, and we know that's 60 minutes per hour. So you could have done that, but it would leave you with the same result, because all we're trying to find is total liters that have passed through.